Bodybuilding with a purpose. We are building our bodies, minds, and spirit to achieve a level of holistic growth. It's not about aesthetics and looking good. That's just a byproduct of the intrinsic attention we give ourselves, overcoming all challenges in pursuit of our greatest desire. Bodybuilding with a purpose. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. It's Eli out here, and today I have a very, very special guest of mine in the building. All right, before I mention his name, I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit of bio I have here, and we'll go from there. All right, so today I have the 2019 Men's Physique Natural Olympian Champion, and in 2019 he won the Team USA Men's Physique. And recently, he just won the 2023 Zeus Classic. He's a champion for men's physique. All right, congratulations on that. He's been lifting for more than 20 years. He started at the age of 13 years old. All right, and he's a personal trainer for the past 10 years. He started doing that at the age of 22, started competing at the age of 22. He's currently married with 2 kids, a 4-year and an 8-month. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Joseph Ortiz. How you doing today, champ?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. I'm blessed. I can't complain, man. Life is good.
Yes. Thank you very much for that. So, I mean, this right here, you have quite a bit of a bio right here. 2019 Mr. Olympia, natural champion. Like, just let's even start with that. How does it feel, when you were crowned the champion in the whole wide world? How did that feel?
Man, 2019 was a crazy year. I was young. I was only 28 years old, and so to be 28 years old and to be crowned the number one, men's physique natural competitor in the world, it's very
Yes.
hard to kind of wrap your mind around. So it was a very surreal experience. I tell people, I don't think mentally I was really ready to be a world champion. I
Oh,
was a
wow.
young kid, but
Yes.
it was a responsibility that I was more than happy to bear on my shoulders, and it was something that I was really proud of. I knew that I worked hard for it, and I knew that I deserved it at the end of the day.
Yes.
But man, it was definitely one of those things that took a long time for me to kind of wrap my head around. And I'm like,
Yes.
man,
Yes.
a lot of people, they ask me like, oh, like what was the first thing you did like when you got home? And I got home and I washed baby bottles. That was the first thing I
Wow.
did. Me and
Wow.
my wife, we had just had our son, so he was born in April, so he was only a few months old. And so as soon as we got
Yes.
home, I went straight to the kitchen and had to wash baby bottles. So yeah, I kind of had to get back to reality. That'll
Yes.
humble you real
Yes.
quick.
Yes. Wow. Wow. I would imagine that Mr. Olympia champion getting back home to watch baby brothers.
Hey
Some
man,
would
nothing
think, hey, you were
changes.
just that is good. That is good. Some would
But
think, you were out like celebrating, like, eating the food you want to eat and everything, you know. But no,
yeah,
thank you
yeah.
very much for that. No, go
Of
ahead.
course, man. But yeah, man, it was a great experience. Unfortunately, the following year was when COVID hit, so everything kind of got shut down and things got
Yes.
a little crazy around the world. But overall, man, it was such a crazy experience, and it's something that I'm chasing for again. And I really truly believe I'm still one of the best competitors in the world, and I'm here to prove it.
Yes. No, that is the mindset of a champion right there. We preach that every day. Like you said, I
Hmm.
mean, like I told you before the conversation, your package for the last competition you did, that was pretty amazing. Beautiful physique, beautiful
Thank you.
presentation. And we can't wait to see what you have for the Olympia this year, 2023.
Hey, hey, we're coming in better, man. Me and my coach.
Ooh,
This is my first year working with this new coach, William Long, and it's funny because for me and William, we kind of had a rivalry going on at the Olympia.
yes.
I actually defeated him in 2019 to become the
Wow.
natural Olympia champion, and then
Yes.
he beat me in 2021 when he became the Olympia champion. And
Yes.
but even though I've been in this game for a long time, just like as you said when you're reading my bio off, I've been lifting for 20 years. I've been competing for 10 years. I've been a pro competitor for 7, 8 years now. But even
Hmm.
then, one thing I always preach is that coaches need coaches. There comes a
Yes.
time and a place where you need to put your ego to the side, and it's okay to reach out to other competitors and other coaches and ask for help. as an athlete, any top level athlete would tell you that you're always a student to the game, and the only way to get better is to be a sponge. And so for me,
Yes.
I had to put my ego to the side, and I reached out to William, and I was like, "Hey, man, like, how does your coaching go? Like, how do you kind of do your plan for the competitions and stuff like that?" And he was like, "Oh, like who's it for?" He thought I was sending him a competitor, like an
Yeah.
athlete. He's like,
Yes.
"Oh, who's it for?" And I'm like, "It's for me." And he was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." I'm like, I'm reaching out to you humbly to ask if you're willing to be my coach for this upcoming year. I go, there's things that I do differently. There's things that you do differently, and the only way for me
Hmm.
to get better as an athlete or even as a trainer is for me
Yes.
to reach out to other coaches who have the experience and to learn from them. And
Hmm.
so that's kind of how the conversation went. And then next thing we're on prep, and here we are, a few months later, and we
Yes.
were very successful in our very first show. And it's just one of those things, man. When you have two very creative and knowledgeable minds kind of coming into a
Hmm.
collaboration, um, that's when beautiful things happen. And when it
Yes.
comes to someone like me who's been in the game for a long time, I'm very like, give me the plan and stay out of my way. Like, tell me what I need to do, and I'm gonna do it
Hmm.
to 100%. I'm not gonna ask you if we can change anything. I'm not gonna ask you anything like that. Like, give me the plan, I'll stick to it. I'm gonna execute it perfectly. And
Yes.
so as the weeks kind of went on, he was making changes to the plan, and so that we could continue to progress. And I'm like, all right, let's do it, man. I don't care how deep I need to dig. I don't care what's required of me. I was like, just tell me to
Hmm.
do it, and just point me in the direction I need to go, and I'll go.
Yes, yes. No, that is, man, thank you very much, for explaining all this right here. Because like myself too, I'm a commentator for classic physique. And to just hear you speak in this manner, I'm like, all right, this is the champion's mindset. Definitely
Yes, sir.
what, the titles you've had. Because, like you said, collaborating instead of competing against one another, right? You get to
Hmm.
learn so many different things. I mean, like you said, you've been lifting for more than 20 years. I just had to ask. In your bio, it says you started lifting at age of 13 years old. That's a
Hmm.
very, very young age. So what
Yeah.
inspired that? Like, who inspired that? Like, how was that journey for you?
So it's funny, man. Like growing up, nobody in my family was a bodybuilder. My older brother, he weightlifts, he works out all the time, and so whenever he moved out of my parents' house, he kind of left behind an old bench press and some old dumbbells. And I grew up overweight. Like me and my brother, we were completely different, like physiques. He's very lean, kind of more of
Yes.
that, the leaner physique naturally, where I was the opposite. I was always heavier set kid growing up.
Mm.
And so whenever he left kind of like the weight stuff in the garage, I was, one morning I kind of stumbled in there and I was like, oh, let me just kind of get some curls going and do a little bit of bench press. And I experienced my first pump for the first time. And
Yes.
I was like, oh man, I was like,
Look
dude,
at
this
this
feels good.
bicep.
I was like, okay. And so that's honestly what sparked the interest. So I really had nobody to really guide me. And so at the age of 13, I would just do what I thought I knew how to do, which was
Yes.
curls, bench press, and a little bit of shoulder press. And that's kind of where the obsession started. And so I remember being in eighth grade, and I would go into my garage like at 5 in the morning just to get an hour workout in before going to school.
Wow.
And I just loved the way it felt. And next thing you know, I was getting compliments from people like, oh man, hey man, you're losing weight. Hey man, you're getting muscle. And to kind of hear
Yes.
this stuff, all right, it's noticeable. What I'm doing is actually making a difference, right?
Hmm.
And so as the months and years kind of went on, the obsession started to grow. And man, I wish I would have kept all the magazines I collected throughout the years. I would get the men's health magazines, muscle fitness
Yes.
magazines. There would
Yes.
be highlighters and post-it notes, and it would take me hours just to read one magazine because I would read the articles and the sub-articles, and I would collect them all.
Wow.
And I swear I had hundreds of these magazines, and they were all just marked up with notes and highlighters, and I just became so obsessed into it. And one thing I tell my clients, I go, fitness is almost like another language, and
Yes.
no
Yes.
matter who you meet from around the world, the language is so universal that we all bond over fitness. And
Yes.
it became a reality once I experienced my very first natural Olympia, because competitors come from all over the world. And even
Correct.
though we're from different countries with different backgrounds, fitness itself is so universal, and it's something that I learned very, very quickly. And so with learning any type of new language, quote unquote,
Mhm.
it takes time to learn it. Like with anything, first you'll start off with a
Yes.
few words and then a few sentences, and then next thing you know,
Mm-hmm.
you become fluent in it. And that's the same thing when it comes to fitness. You know, you have to take these baby steps before you're able to run. And so throughout the years, man, I just kind of just put my head down and I would go into my garage for like 2 to 3 hours and turn the music on really loud. My parents used to hate it, and and, and I
Yeah.
would just go crazy in there for 2 or 3 hours, just a young kid, and I loved it, and I taught myself pretty much everything that I knew, and then at the age of 22, when I became a personal trainer, and I purchased my certification or to take the test,
Mm-hmm.
I was reviewing everything, I was like, I already know all this stuff, and so when I
Yes.
ended up taking my test to become a personal trainer, I ended up scoring like in the top 80 percentile, and most of it was just self-taught.
Wow, 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 man.
Yeah.
Quite the story right there and the journey from the age of 13. So you were so lucky to find your passion at a very young age then to say.
I agree. I agree
Wow, wow.
100%.
You
Yeah,
know,
definitely blessed.
yes, yes. No, that is absolutely amazing. As you were talking, I'm like, man, this is amazing. I have so many questions, but I'll say, okay, you know what, let's take it one by one, right? And one
Yeah.
of it was, finding your passion at a very young age, at the age of 13, right? How did that, alter the trajectory of your life to the man that you are today, right? Because, some people
Yeah.
find their passion at a late age, right? Like maybe when
Mhm.
in their late 30s, late 40s, but at 13 years old. So for you to be in the gym lifting when your peers are like, doing what a teenager would do, right? So how did that
Mhm.
alter the trajectory of your life?
It kept me out of trouble, that's for sure. The city that I grew up in, the high school that I went to, it definitely wasn't the best. And so a lot of times, I played sports growing up. So I played baseball, basketball growing up all through high school. And so, like, whenever school was over, though, like all the knucklehead kids would be like, "Hey, let's go do this, let's go do that." And I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna go lift, I'm gonna go work out." And
Yes.
so, I kind of used it to stay out of trouble as well. But it's funny because even after I graduated, I actually went to school for administration of justice because I always wanted to be a cop. And
Mm.
so, as life started to happen, though, I got so sucked into the fitness industry that my life kind of just rerouted into fitness, and I actually ended up going that route instead of fitness. And I feel like this is kind of what I was kind of meant to do. But it's amazing though because now me as a trainer, I
Hmm.
actually work with a lot of first responders and police officers. So I'm actually
Yes.
I actually run an officer wellness program now where I help police officers. So it's kind of
Yes.
crazy how everything kind of comes full circle. But to kind of get back to your question, I really believe that fitness, it kept me out of trouble growing up as a kid, and it really opened up a lot of doors for me as I was going through life. But it's yeah, so it's just been an amazing journey overall.
No, thank you very much for that. Like that is truly a blessing to be able to discover your passion at a very young age, like I said, because I have my nephew right here. He just turned 15 this year and he's been competing. He's like done two competitions already, getting ready for Team
Wow,
USA, right? At 15 years old.
amazing.
And I'm like, man, at 15 years old, I can't even remember what I was doing personally. I didn't find fitness at that very, early age, right? And you mentioned something, your target audience is specific, right? With the officer training program, and then
Mhm.
one of the reasons that we're here again is you train teenagers from 13 years and above, right?
Correct.
Why that specific target audience?
Well, as you can tell from my story, it kind of ties in, right? So the beginning
Yes.
age that I teach kids is the age of 13, which is the same exact age when I started at 13 years old. So like I said, I feel like everything kind of just comes full circle, and I feel like when you have such a gift for something, you have such a passion for something, it's always nice to give back. And for me, I look at these kids that are growing up now, and I see these kids who are 13 years old, and they have no direction really where to go when it comes to fitness. And for
Yes.
me to be able to kind of provide that now, I feel like this it's almost like what I was meant to do.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but yeah, so I want to offer that guidance because when I was growing up at the age of 13, I didn't have that type of guidance. Like I said, I was collecting these magazines and looking at pictures on how to do these workouts with form and technique. And at the age of 18, I actually ended up injuring my right shoulder. So I actually
Mm.
tore my shoulder in two places. I tore my labrum and I tore my rotator cuff because I didn't know
Yes.
how to work out. And so for
Yes.
me, I want to offer that guidance to kind of prevent that from happening to the new generation that's looking to get into the gym. So that's kind of where all it comes down to, man, is I look
Yes.
back at my life and where I started, and I'm like, man, like I wish I had somebody there to kind of like walk me through all these lifts and workouts. That way I could have prevented so much injury on my body and so much wear and tear that I have now, which, you know, it's everything happens for a reason. That's one thing I always kind of tell myself, regardless of the
Yes.
injuries. But yeah, if I could help prevent it for others though, I definitely will.
Yes, no, that is beautiful. That is amazing. You know, again, that when I saw the program on your Instagram page, I'm like, wow, this is unique, right? This is specific
Yeah.
because myself and my business partner, Saya, there was a time he was at the gym. I'm pretty sure he told you the story, right? How some like you said, some people don't know any better and they try to follow the wrong influence. Just
Yes.
even us competing with a natural organization, that right there is everything. And a lot of these young kids they don't know any better. They see the guys on Instagram like, oh, you want to get shredded. So you're pretty much saving lives. You are literally changing, again, just like the way your life, the trajectory was changed, you are changing people's life with that. Thank you very
Yeah,
much for
man.
that.
Of course, man. Yeah, the obesity rate right now is crazy high, and especially when it
Mhm.
comes to children and the unfortunately it's easier to get the answers nowadays when it comes to nutrition, right? Like the access to knowledge is almost infinite because of these smartphones we have. But at the same
Yes.
time, I feel like it's having the opposite effect. And so sometimes we need that person to person interaction to kind of help guide us. And that's where I kind of felt like I needed to step up and do my part.
Yes. Yes. No, that is that again, like I said, that is beautiful.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like the content you're seeing, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Not just that, go ahead and check out the podcast link down below. Like, share, and subscribe.